Hey, what's going on, everyone? My name is John. I am a filmmaker slash creator and your host for Make Limited podcast, where we talk about how to change our circumstances when life happens. In other words, when life gives you lemons, make lemonade. Today, we'll be talking about the importance of being a student before a teacher, which I hope will help you to become the leader you are meant to be. All right. Welcome once again. My name is John. I am your host for Make Limited Podcast. And today we're talking about the importance of being a student before a teacher. But before, let me just say thank you so much for you that have been supporting us through listening to our podcast, through sharing our podcast. It's been a support. With some of the ways that we support ourselves mainly is through our listeners when they listen to our podcast. Secondly is through ads that we put on our podcast, that if you've heard them, is me talking about things that I believe. Anchor is a podcast that I distribute through other podcasts, and it's been a very helpful podcast that has allowed me to be heard around the world, and that is something that I never expected to happen, but is happening. And so wherever you're at, wherever you're from, thank you so much for listening and being a part of our podcast. And so with no further ado, we're talking about today about the importance of being a student before a teacher. And I want to talk about this because it's something that I have learned, it's something that I have experienced, it's something that I've gained knowledge from, not only my own knowledge, but from others. I've seen it from others. I've seen it in what I believe, where I get my main resources from. And there's three places. One is from the Bible, two is my own experiences, and three is from other experiences, whether it be through articles, whether it be through research, whether it be through people experience, whether it be through books that I reading from. This is where I get all my information from. So I hope that it's been super effective, and I can't wait to get into this. So let's do it. All right, everyone. So we are here, and I want to start first with my first point of the whole importance of being a student before a teacher. And this is the concept of it is from beginner to a leadership position, okay? And what I want you to understand is this process. When you put someone in a place of leadership when they're just beginning, it turns into an automatic folly, which in turn turns into a destruction of self. And later on I'm going to explain this, but this is the first beginning of what I want to introduce to you when I'm talking about the importance of being a student before a teacher. So my first point that I want to go in is that students learn, not teach. And the reason why I say this is because, number one, students make mistakes, and that's okay. But their mistakes are for them to learn. So my advice here would be, as a student, learn to be a student before you become a teacher. And the reason why I say this is because you can make the most mistakes as a student. And make the mistakes to learn, to really gain the knowledge and understanding and the wisdom that you need for a position that you want to attain later on in the future. And that's super important because, when you are a student, you are welcome to ask questions. You are welcome to question things that you don't understand. And you are welcome to be a part of things that you never thought you could be in. Versus a leadership position, you're no longer required to be a part of something, but you are now required to run something through a process. And so that's very different when it comes to from student to leader, from beginner to like being a professional. So again, when you are a student, please learn not to teach. Okay, learn to make mistakes. Okay, make mistakes to learn. Sorry, that's what it was. Make mistakes to learn. That's the process. Be okay with making mistakes when you're a student. Be okay with it. Don't give yourself that burden that you need to have a per se a grown-up mentality, but instead have a learning mentality so that you can move on in the process. Number two, understand the position that you want to attain in the future. And whether it be a position that you never thought, whether it be a position that maybe they're considering you for because they see you and in the outer appearance, you seem to be effective, you seem to be motivated, you seem to be pushed to really move forward or self motivated to push yourself. And that are all good qualities, but only you know inside of yourself if you are fully capable to do this. And so, yes, understand the position, understand what it takes to be in that place. And, we can get uh, from the Bible the story of David and Goliath. And we hear this story over and over again. And one of the things that I've understood from this story is that David learned how to shepherd before he became a king. And in the same sense, as a shepherd and a king do the same thing. They protect their people from the outsides, from the outsiders. They protect people from those who want to harm them, and they have their own self defense. What they need to do. A shepherd has, for example, David. He had a slingshot and a rock. A king has an army. So they're very in the same area, and David understood that process of shepherding. And so he understood that he needed to face any danger that would come to to his sheep. As a king, he understood that he needed to protect his kingdom, to build it, and to be the king that all nations look up to. And so that's one of the things that he understood. So understand the position before you move into it. And number three, if the position is given early, the student will be prideful, and that becomes folly. And folly simply means the lack of good sense. So, and that's something that I went through. I went through myself in that. I remember that if I was allowed as a student to do things uh, in a process, I can tell you many times in that leadership position, instead of knowing where to take the area or the place that we're in, knowing where to take it to the next level, it would have been easier. But as a student, being a teacher, it was very difficult because I had to try different things. I had to try different areas, and when it becomes folly is when you don't want to ask questions, when you think that you should know it all, so you try to figure it out yourself. And this is what happens. And when somebody tells you and comes and corrects you, or just comes to tell you about a situation, you become offensive, you become defensive, and you want to automatically leave and you want to move to a different place because you were either kicked off, either they told you not to do something, either you felt like I'm a leader, I'm not a kid, like you felt like an adult, not a kid, and you felt like you were treated like a kid. But the thing is that as a leader, you would understand that that is a correction of something that doesn't fit perhaps with the way that things are run in the area that you're in. That's why understanding the position is super important. So remember, if position is given early to the student, it will only become pride, and that pride will lead to folly. So it's super, super important that you understand that. All right, everyone. So for number two, we're going to be talking about teaching is being a leader that leads others by example. Okay, and this is something that I believe I wanted to go over because as a student, you want to understand, or as a beginner, you want to understand when you're in a leadership position, it all goes by example. It all goes by what you're showing and being in the inside, whether you be in a public place or in a private location. And so I want to go over this because I think it's so important as beginners, as learners, as students, whatever you want to call it, whatever you will. It's very important for us to understand this part because it comes a long way. Number one is action. Action is something very, very important to understand in leadership position. And not only do you need to reflect this when you're in front of people, but also when you are in your home, in your own area. One of the things that I have learned, again, from my main resources has been that if you are in a position, right, and you're showing outside of that position, what you are, what you believe, but yet you go home and it doesn't match that, whether it be your kids, whether it be your spouse, whether it be your animals, whatever it be, if they're not showing the same beliefs that you are on the outside, then that means that you don't have a home that is organized. And but I mean a home organized, that means that people in your house don't believe what you believe. So it means you're having struggles in your own home, and outside of the home you're not doing the same. So something is happening there that is not being complete, because the people who know you the best and know you as is, and one of the places that you have the hardest time influencing is in your own home. So being the same outside whether you are as inside is very important, which means you got to lead by your actions, lead by your example. Number two is representatives. Again, we go through the part of action. Representatives are people who are the closest to you, whether it be, for example, a location. Let me give you a great example that I have learned this from. As a consumer or as a customer, when you go into an area and they treat you a certain way, ultimately it is the way that the leadership is treating the workers. And I've come to know this through the process of my own process of having my own business, but not only that, but also the process of going through a certain place, like for example, purchasing my home. And so when I purchased my home, I went through a process of a company that makes homes in different areas. And what I came to the realization when I came to the first person who was the leader was that they would put on a face to say that they would help you at any cost. Yet, when it came to the week, they would push you all the way to Friday, telling you, okay, we're going to get to it. We'll call you back. And they would never call you back. You would call them back either on Wednesday or Thursday. They would tell you, we'll get back to you again because of a certain process. And then they'll get Friday and they say, okay, we're going to get on it, but we won't be able to work with it until Monday. So give us a call back Monday. So you're doing all the effort and they're literally not doing anything. And then that process would lead to another connection that they would have and another connection. But you end up realizing that the way that the company ran is the same way that the main person in charge of that whole company was treating each one of those workers, and those workers were turning around and treating their own workers like that. And so the ripple kept going, it kept going, and guess what? Who are the people that, for example, the ripples hit, and that is the customers. And, getting that's when they get poor customer connection. And whether it be maybe a person, was taught differently, has a different persona, whatever it may be, the representatives always reflect the leader. So if you are in a position that you were given early, and whatever people are under you, those are the people who are going to reflect exactly what you're giving them. So it's very important to understand that. Number three is don't look down on people, but build them up. And that's a heavy job. Okay? That is a heavy job. Whether you're pulling them up or whether you're picking them up, it's a very heavy job to be a leader when you're building people, because you're dealing with a bunch of situations, and to understand them is key. And that's why you must really understand the position that you want to get into as a student or as a learner, as a person who's beginning. And number four is who you are shows in others who follow you. And again, that's same as representative, but this is more like ambassadors. Wherever they go, I don't know if you ever heard when a product is, you know, take for example a product like for example Apple, right? No Apple, wherever they send you something like a product, it represents who they are. So they take pride in their packaging, they take pride in their service, and they take pride in everything that they do because they want excellence in every single thing. And because of that, then you know them as a very credible company to trust, better company to buy from and to purchase things from, and you are a happy consumer. And so in turns, that makes you know that whatever goes in that company, you're going to trust. You know that it's going to be great, and that shows that the leadership, from the leadership position to where they are now, that is following down the line from where it started from jobs to all the way to where it's now, and that has been leading. And so those are the things when it comes to teaching, being a leader that leads by example. All right, guys, so we've come to the last point, okay? So we have come to the last point, and this has been so exciting to teach you, so exciting to just share with you about this, of how the importance of being a student before a teacher is so crucial to really, really not fall in the sense of folly and just crash. So the last one that I want to talk to you about is position or an office are not earned just by experience, but by understanding. This is something that is so great, that I've seen, I researched, and I've experienced it myself. That a position is not something that you just need to have experience. Because I've been in positions that I have more than enough experience, but it's not the experience that gets you there. It's the understanding, and that goes back to the things that we talked about. The main points would have been understanding the position and the representation, and that in itself is understanding. And it number one, it takes 100% of who you are. And what that means is that in order to be in a leadership position, it takes 100% of you. Do you believe 100% in what you're doing? Do you believe 100% in where you're at? Do you understand that? Because it's more than just experiencing. Because you can go into a place, and I've been there and I've seen it before, and it's happened to me and against me when somebody's in a position and you are under their supervision, and they are blind to the fact that the leadership position is taking advantage of the whole situation in their business or in their organization, and they are just doing their job like a soldier instead of understanding the position of what they're supposed to do, not just by having the experience that they need, but understanding the position to have their own mind of what is right and what is wrong and standing for that. And the leader should be able to understand and have a process that if they are wrong, they have a process of how that is maneuvered and taking place. Because if a leader is just the only voice of judgment, then that means that whatever they say is run by what they only want, and literally taking everyone as a slave, taking everyone as just doing exactly what he wants. And the process is not that. The process is being able to understand and having a leader who can have people around them to tell him, hey, this is too much. This is, you need to really back off on this. And this is why you need to have advisors in your area, to really have multiple advisors to direct you and have a many points of view so that you can make the best decision possible. And number two is understanding the process is a deeper realm than just having an experience. this is something that I just have to repeat to you. Understanding the process is a deeper realm than just having an experience. I want you to just take that for a moment and really think about it. Because as students, as we understand, as we're beginning, we have to understand the process. Okay, you've heard it before. Is know the rules in order to break them. Right? You understand knowing the laws in order to really use the laws for your benefit. Right? So understanding the process is it's a deeper realm than just having an experience. Because you can have the experience in something, but if you don't fully understand it, if you don't fully comprehend it, then you would just be a puppet and a leader's hand. And that's not what you want to do. You want to be able to understand that your leader gives you the ability to be able to speak and advise and be able to have that opportunity to really grow. And that's what a leader does. When we talked about in 2 that teaching is being a leader that leads others by example, and that is what you want to see in your leader. That is exactly what a leader is all about. So when a leader learns his position, when he understands his position, he does it right. When he grows and he grows in that position to really understand it, he's able to clearly lead his people. He's able to build his people instead of just telling them what to do, and that is the difference. And I don't know if you've seen the picture before, but I saw this picture once where there was a leader that there's like a stick figure. So if you can imagine like little stick figures, like a head and a little body of sticks and arms. And what he has like 4 people carrying him on this platform, and he's on top, and he's pointing and has a whip in another hand and pointing forward, meaning that he's telling his people to push forward and carry him. And on the other one, which I love the picture of this, is the picture of a wolf. And if you understand the wolf pack, you know that the last person, or should I say animal, is actually the alpha, the main animal that is making sure that everyone is doing okay. And he's in the back, and he's making sure that if there's someone who is weak, if there's someone who is, they can't make it, he's going to make sure that his group slows down, that they take a rest, that they make sure that they're recovered for what they need for their long journey ahead of them, to either get more food, either to move locations, either to keep their pack safe. And it's very important for them as they lead. And this is one of the things that I love about wolves that they do, which for me was the best analogy and example of a leader. So this sort of things, when it comes to the position or the office, are not just earned by experience, but they are earned by understanding. And this is something that I want you to take to heart. So wow, I'm super pumped that I got to talk to you about this. It's super exciting to share something that I have close to my heart, of the importance of being a student before a teacher. Very important. And really the moment that I want to let you understand is it's to learn before you become a leader. It's very important, and it is a process. Some people reach it earlier than others, and some people it takes a while for them to become a teacher because they are growing. And when I mean teacher, what I mean a student, that's just a name that I put on it, but that's literally for someone who wants to be a leader, and they're starting off. And the danger of one being a leader from the beginning can be very challenging. very challenging, not impossible, but very challenging. And ultimately, the risk that they run is, if they're given an early position, the student or the beginner can have a huge percentage of being prideful, and that pride can lead to their folly, and that is a lack of good sense. And when you don't have a good sense, your mind is not in the right place, it leads to the destruction not only of one's life that is leading, but of those that he is leading. And that turns into a ripple because it hits their family, and their family hits who they know, and who they know hit who the other people who they know. And so it can be a ripple of just destruction, and that's not what you want. And that's why the main point that I hit in the beginning was a student learns, not teaches. And then after I talked about that, I wanted to really go into what it was to be a teacher, and what it took, and that is the action that it took as a person. And not only that, but not the action and who are around them, who represents them, and that action and the representative would show out through what they do, whether it be a business, whether it be an organization. It would show. And lastly, I talked about that a position is not earned by experience, but by understanding. And it's important to know that process is deeper. It's a deeper realm than just having an experience, and it takes 100% of you to understand and be a part of something. Because if you only have 50%, your heart is not in it, so you're not going to do it fully, the best job that you can. And that, again, is a ripple that hurts those around you, those who are in your leadership, and it can be very destructive when it comes into leading people to a place. And so with saying that, I just want to thank you for listening once again. And again, I am your host, John, for Make Limited Podcast, and thank you so much for listening, and we'll be talking to you later.